Greetings and good vibes, y'all. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Leon Block. It's your guy John Tell. Tonight it's been a while since we did the Leon Block. We always doing the news, Revolution News Link, and this is news. However, I think it's important to tie some stuff together. Also talk about some stuff. But the first thing I want to get to is this shooting in Buffalo that occurred Saturday, right? Because I think that's what's on everybody's mind. I think that it should be the topic right now. So, as y'all know, a white gunman, came in tactical gear and killed up to 10 people and wounded like three others in Buffalo, New York, at a Tops grocery store, which is in a predominantly black city and predominantly black neighborhood that he went to. Um, I hope that y'all know the details of this story by now. He streamed the incident on Twitch, which of course they said they took it down, but of course people have, uh, recorded it and it's all over at this point. He definitely stated that he was, there to kill black people, but he definitely is looking to kill Muslims, Latinx, and Jewish people as well. He's just one of those homegrown, racist ass, terrorist ass motherfuckers that these people that we put in to hold in positions of power apparently don't take seriously. And we've been telling time and time and time again, and this motherfucker gets taken in. He's able to go stand in front of a judge with a hospital gown on. Time and time again, we are shown what we're thought of. The thing is, what I see different is most of the media coming right out, mainstream media that is, coming right out and calling it a hate crime. Just as well as the LA shooting that just occurred. They're not quick to say it's a hate crime, but it's pretty much insinuating it, considering it was a Taiwanese church, place of worship. They're not going to talk about it yet, but they will. They're already insinuating it. And I don't know. I think we're coming to a point where this is so. Look, we can't escape race. And if there are people clearly trying to erase the idea of, the things that have happened and how we've gotten to where we are, we've got to do all we can to take a firm stance to say, no, motherfucker, like, you've got to be held accountable. Speaking of, I shared my feelings on the subject on a Facebook post, right? And I'm allowed to share my piece. I'm allowed to say how I feel as a black man. And I don't want anyone trying to police me or my feelings about a subject. And I feel like today specifically has been a day of like white people just feeling froggy and just saying all kinds of shit. I think people are like all over the place, and I get it. People are disoriented and shit, but like I think a lot of people don't really understand my specific stance on things, and I don't make that clear, and I don't think I need to. But it's just look, put it this way: I peep everything white people do, like. And some people's actions are more clear than others. You know what I mean? Like, actions speak louder than words. And I feel like some people try too hard to be an ally, realizing when they fucked up instead of just saying I fucked up. And then I think some people really want to be an ally, but are so stuck in their racism and prejudice and afraid of what their family or friends might say that they it's too much a risk for them. Just like folks that's in the closet. This whole situation of this specific shooting, right? And I don't even want to get into the whole replacement theory thing, even though it's something that's been ongoing, right? White people, white supremacists and white nationalists and all those people are afraid of legitimately, they are understandably so afraid of being replaced by people of color. But by 2040, 2045, they won't be replaced. They will be outnumbered by people of color. This is a fact. Based off of current trends, the average population will be a person of color. But I believe in schools 18 and under, that's already the case. You feel me? So, I mean, it explains their behavior at least the past 6 years. At least we can go back to the start of Trump and getting them feeling emboldened to do the things they're doing. But really, if we want to talk about modern times, we can go back to Timothy McVeigh and the Oklahoma City bombings. But no one wants to talk about that. No one wants to cite that. But see, the government has been watching all of these motherfuckers. They just don't want to talk about it. They didn't want to bring attention to it. I think with the onslaught of, Black Lives Matter protests and this summer being dubbed the summer of rage, media had to take a stance on how they were going to go the direction of reporting these stories. The thing is, with Buffalo, it's something that cannot be ignored. And given the other situation that happened, what was with Dylan Roof? That was a situation that they can try to smear over. You know what I mean? They could try and throw race by the wayside and excuse it with something else, right? But this is it. Shootings have become so much more commonplace since that event alone, and racial tension. The media has to touch on it, and they have to tell it like it is, or at least attempt to, the best that they can sugarcoat shit, right? So I was watching this clip from Democracy Now! And they actually, there's a woman here talking about, where's it at? She's making a connection between reparations.
As they do, we must all work together to address the hate that remains a stain on the soul of America. Hearts are heavy once again, but a resolve must never ever waver.
Where's this girl?
The White House says President Biden will visit Buffalo Tuesday to meet with victims' families.
And as a matter of fact, I didn't know that Kat Massey was one of the victims. I started my organizing career right here in the Fruit Belt, and Kat was a pillar of this community and a longtime supporter of mine in the work that I did, a woman who wrote a $10 check every month to support our community land trust. And these are some of the folks that we lost in this very horrific and tragic incident.
First of all, my condolences on this horror that has befallen your community, this act of domestic terrorism that has taken so many, including the mother. The oldest victim is the mother, right, of the retired fire commissioner.
Yes. There is a broader conversation that has to be had, right? The former fire commissioner's mother was in that grocery store because it is the only place for Black folks to shop on this side of town, right? So this is not only a question of a lone actor who was a white supremacist. It is a conversation that has to be had and policy that has to be made to undo the systemic harms that have been caused by a structure of white supremacy that has not only permeated the United States of America, but it also has trickled down into cities just like Buffalo. Like, we know that 80% of the population of the east side of Buffalo are people of color, are Black people specifically, and they have one place to shop. And now they have 0 places to shop because we don't know when our grocery store is going to open back up on the east side.
I mean, this is a critical point, this Tops grocery store. I mean, before it was brought into the community, it's in other parts of Buffalo, but it wasn't here. You had a food desert here.
And this is something I want to get into.
Because it's closed, you have people who are desperately trying to get what the services that this store provided, like prescription drugs delivered to them, food that's refrigerated, dealing with a community that lived in a food desert now goes back to that once again. But most importantly, the issue of structural racism that you're talking about, India.
Exactly. We have dubbed it food apartheid because it is a policy decision. Deserts are naturally occurring, and the fact that there is no food on the east side of Buffalo and there's not the availability of these basic services is a policy choice. There are people who actively chose to not provide services in this community, and for a long time we've been told that this Tops on Jefferson, we are lucky to have it because no one else wants to come into the neighborhood because they're afraid of retail theft.
See, this is the kind of stuff that keeps our community from being able to have the things that we need. And then they want to claim that we shouldn't have reparations, but reparations would solve so many things. We are the ones who, quote unquote, got Biden into office, right? We ain't Black if we ain't vote for Biden. But what has he done for our communities? What has he done for communities in general? What has he done for immigrants? What has he done for people of color in general? I'm not seeing the fruits of that labor, but if communities were provided with the things that they needed for themselves and to protect themselves as well, would stuff like this be more commonplace or not?
Or many other reasons why we have been led to believe that Black folks don't deserve the same things that other communities do.
So you talk about segregation by design, that is a description of your neighborhood. Can you explain how the Kensington Expressway divides the African-American community?
Absolutely. There, again, a policy choice where folks needed to get in and out of the city of Buffalo very quickly. The Kensington Expressway was designed to move people from the airport, from the first ring suburbs into the city quickly. And as a matter of fact, there was an intentional choice to blast through very hard, multiple levels of rock to seek the expressway so that folks coming in and out didn't have to see the blight that resulted in the surrounding communities, right? So it's get in and out as quickly as possible. It's had devastating environmental impacts, health impacts. We know that folks who live around the Kensington Expressway have higher rates of asthma and heart disease and other very preventable illnesses. And again, as aggressively as policy was created to make the harm, we have to make sure that the equal and more energy is put into undoing that, right? And $1 billion has recently been allocated to cover a portion, but we also know that that's not a real solution, right? It should be filled in, it should be eliminated and restored to the beautiful parkway that it once was.
What do you want to say to President Biden tomorrow? What do you want to say to this country about this act of domestic terrorism that has taken place? This young white man who describes himself as a white supremacist, as a fascist, puts out this 180-page screed, much of it taken from the Christchurch massacre screed, that talks about the Great Replacement theory and more. He had actually come there a day before to the Tops to do reconnaissance. He wanted to kill many more people. He was picked up a year ago by state troopers because his school had called the state police. They were so concerned about him, and so much reminding us of what happened with Dylan Roof, traveling hours to get to a site of African Americans who he could kill. In that case, it was the church in South Carolina. In this case, it was Tops.
We are at yet another moment of national reckoning, right? This is not an isolated incident. This is more than half a century of oppression, of systemic racism, and now is the time to renew the call for reparations. I think we need bold, reparative action on the forefront of all of these conversations. Prayers and thoughts are not enough. We live in communities that have been redlined, people who have been intentionally left out of our economic system, people who have.
And hold on, let me say this, because this is what I'm talking about. We need tangible change, not symbolic change. Like, I love the fact that Ketanji Jackson is on the Supreme Court, but what are we sitting here protesting against? The new decision that's coming out in the Supreme Court. Like, every time we're given one little piece of something, everyone wants to shut up and go back to working and minding their business, when this is work. Us taking care of our country is work. It's not just about voting. And obviously our voting is not doing anything, because they're not doing anything for us, and we're paying them for what? We need tangible change. And the most obvious example of the fact that we need tangible change, all of us, is what is going on in the Black communities, what is going on in the poorest of the communities, the people that are in need the most. Look at what's happening to them, and you will see why we all need to be standing up and fighting, because it isn't just us that are lacking things. We need tangible change, not symbolism. Symbolism is not doing anything for us. And it hasn't gotten us anywhere but adding a little sugarcoating on our textbooks. Where has that gotten us? Because they're still trying to erase our history. Stand up.
Been preyed on, extracted from, and if we're going to begin to heal as a country and really beat back what is systemic racism that causes these extremist ideas and homegrown terrorists, our people have been terrorized for generations in this country. Our existence in this country comes from a place of terror. And if we're not having conversations about reparations, if we're not having conversations about actively undoing the harm that has been caused by redlining, by intentionally leaving Black people out of economic and social upward mobility, then it's a non-starter for people like me who do this work, who care for our communities. We're tired. I'm tired. This dude was allowed to go into our grocery store and shoot up a bunch of grannies and aunties, right? And children. An 8-year-old girl hid in a freezer, afraid for her life. And, I'm tired of prayers. I don't want that. We need resources. We need money. We need the accessibility and availability of our own things. We have our own grocery stores. And we need to be able to have the self-determination on autonomy to protect ourselves and our own community.
India Walton, we want to thank you for being with us, former Buffalo.
So that is an activist up in the Buffalo area talking about the situation that happened on Saturday with 10 people being involved in a racist shooting. It was if y'all haven't heard by now, we can add the links to the Facebook post, the Facebook stream, so that you can check it out. But the point that I also want to get to here, 2 points actually, because a lot of people seem to be shocked that this is going on, and I'm wondering why people are shocked. This is nothing has stopped. This has continued to happen. This is going to continue to happen until people take a stand, i.e. mainly white people. And, if white people are to be allies, you can't be soft-hearted. This is not for the faint of the heart, meaning that if you get checked, you need to say okay and roll with it. You need to roll with the punches and continue to stand and fight. This is not the time to police other people, especially Black people. And I think that's important. I think that a lot of white people think that once they're in, that the work is done, so to speak, and it's not. It is not. Clearly, it's not. We haven't gotten anywhere whatsoever, and that's my opinion. But also, with the abortion justice activism going on and abortion rights being threatened, and now this situation with gun violence and the woman in India Walton talked about on the clip there, reparations, systemic racism, the issues of redlining, and as she quoted it, food apartheid. What are we doing here? Who are y'all voting for? Everyone's talking about voting. Who are you voting for? I want my vote to count. My vote didn't count last time because we got Biden. I sure as hell was going to have Trump, but I'm tired of playing, the lesser of two evils game. I'm not playing that game at all. I'm done. So my thing is, take all of this out, take all these people out, right? Every single person that's in office, say, you're fired. If you like a new position, you've got to fill out this form. You've got to run all over again. I want my vote to count. And when I want my vote to count, I'm saying every single candidate that I vote for has to be for every single reason that I want them in. And if they don't align with all the reasons, I'm not voting for them, period. Why else would your vote count? Why would you just sit back and say, oh, well, this person's better than this person, but I don't think they're best for the job, but you still vote for them? That makes no sense. Why don't we just get all the people out and start over? Why do we also have Democrats and Republicans? Why don't we start over with parties? Other countries have tons of parties. We have two that dominate, and we're so keen on talking about monopolies and whatnot, but our political system is a monopoly controlled by corporate interests, controlled by companies. And this is open knowledge. This is known. Why do we fall in line? Well, not all of us, but why do people fall in line? I think part of it is it's all we know. But I think it takes looking at things in a different way and saying, well, what's another way to look at this? There's got to be other ways to look at this, right? I did oh yeah, so this right here, the US government is invading Somalia. Have y'all heard about this? So we talk all the time about the war on Ukraine, and many of us have been sounding the alarm about the double standards to the global south and how, all the different wars that's been going on there for years and years, and some a decade at least. No one's outraged about that. No one's outraged about the invasions of these countries, and where's the outrage about that? I'm just a little curious. I want to know what y'all thoughts are on that as well too. You can find the article on the Associated Press, or you can just go to our page on Twitter, the Leon Block. But all this stuff going on, between the Buffalo and LA shootings, the topics of white supremacy, and the war on Ukraine, the double standard between that and now Somalia. And as y'all know, the situation going on in Palestine, the funeral that Al Jazeera recorded the infamous photos of, now heard around the world. But little do people know, if you keep up on Twitter at least, it's always something going on there, and no one wants to talk about it unless it's like hot, salacious, juicy news. But there's atrocities going on every fucking where. Now that abortion justice has taken off, they're barely talking about the war on Ukraine, quote unquote. Just, keep your eyes peeled and challenge your thinking is all I'm saying. I think that's important enough. Don't you? So what are your thoughts on the Buffalo shooting? I'm curious. What are your thoughts on, us invading Somalia, so to speak? What are your thoughts on the situation with the Supreme Court ruling leaking on Roe v. Wade and the protests that have been happening all weekend? There was like 450 plus protests that took place over the weekend in cities and towns across the United States alone. And this is supposed to be the land of the free? I don't know. Y'all. For more information and news, you can always go ahead over to our Facebook page, the Leon Block Independent Media. We're always talking about shit. There was an episode, there was a story on Democracy Now! Featuring Nick Estes, who's talking about the Indian reservation schools and the atrocities that were committed, and us all needing justice. It starts with them, it ends with all of us getting everything that we deserve in this life, and it takes us standing up together. If y'all haven't seen these, check them out. Oh, we got tons of stuff like this on our Instagram as well. We do more of posting pictures on the Instagram, but here on our Facebook page, as you can see, it's a little bit of everything. So yeah, just remember that all of this ties together. The Roe v. Wade and abortion justice rights, white supremacy and the shooters, food apartheid, reparations, replacement theory, voting and elections, redlining, allyship to all disenfranchised communities, Democrats, Republicans in a two-party system, us needing actual conscientious politicians. All of this comes from white supremacy. Think about it. I just wanted to leave y'all with some food for thought. And talk about this Buffalo shooter incident, because we are calling this the summer of rage, but how much you want to bet this is going to be like the first of a series that's coming? I'm just saying, like, people be on alert. I'm saying, if you really an ally, be an ally and be down. Because it takes a village. I don't know, y'all. If y'all got thoughts about this Buffalo shooting, drop them in the comments, whether you're watching from YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or listening in on Spotify. You can email us at theleonblock@gmail.com, or you can text us at 484-909-0873. We love to hear from y'all. Make sure you meditate on your path, celebrate your being, liberate your spirit, and educate yourself. I'm Jontel. Y'all have a good one.